I have the reason why this and this is not working, and if I keep doing things differently, it will work. They call me the dreamer, and this is something that they started calling me from high school. But at that time, I was thinking in my mind, what is she thinking? Why would I need a job after 4 years? This is the Legends Jasiri edition. My name is Mohamed Sharif Adan. I'm the CTO currently and co-founder of Dawati. As you know, Dawati is a Swahili word that means desk. This is an e-learning platform that targets high school students in Kenya that was started about 4 years ago. Before that, I used to work as a solutions architect for one of the local IT firms in Kenya. My background is in IT. I did computer science from the University of Nairobi. I graduated in the year 2007. Before that, I've gone through the whole 844. So that's the last 4. So the other 4, which was high school, I did it at a place called Magadi Secondary School. That's a secondary school that's about 120 kilometers south of Nairobi, in a small town that is an island on the Magadi Lake. So for the past 4 years, we've been pushing this Dawati to try and transform high school education in Kenya. Generally, if you look at the statistics or what happens in high school, is that every year about 86% of the students do not attain the required grade to go to university or pursue a tertiary education. And we thought this is something that maybe needed a big intervention using technology. I have 4 children. The eldest is about 7 and the youngest is about 1 year old. As you could guess from their ages, they are currently in the lower section of education, that is PP1 and PP2 under the new CBC system. We have been people who have been moving around a lot. So when I tell people where I've gone to school, I've been here, I've been this place, they usually wonder whether I was my parents were civil servants or something like that, but they were not civil servants. We were just people who were moving from place to place. Maybe it's because we have been nomads for a long time. My parents' interaction with business was not a very, serious. It was these businesses that people do as, you try 1 or 2 things, it runs for a bit, it fails. So I can't say I drew my inspiration from there. What I think my parents did for me, and which maybe they insisted very strongly, was education. So anytime we moved from place to place, one of the things that my parents insisted was that I get good education, and this was both traditional and formal education. So when I say traditional education, is that when I was much younger, I attended the traditional school, which in my language we call Duksi. So this is where we learn how to memorize the Quran, and we read and write in Arabic. So we don't use books there, and we don't use pen. We use homemade ink that is made of charcoal and milk, or either charcoal and cell sap from a tree. For writing, we normally use a piece of wood or a tablet. And it's not this, it's not the modern tablet. It's like the tablet that was used by Moses, so the old kind of tablet. That's what I mean when I talk about tablet. So that was actually my first school. So I went to that school. After completing that school, that's when I started my formal schooling. In fact, there were times when I was taken from one place to another place by my father just to go and school and leave my mother and the rest of my siblings behind. When I did my KCSE in the year 2007, I was the top student in that school, Magadi Secondary. I was also the top student in Kajiado County, that school is in Kajiado, and I was also in the top 100 students for Rift Valley province. So that now allowed me now to go to the degree of my choice at the university of my choice. After high school, I was hired by a company called Magadi Soda Company. I was taken as a management trainee immediately after high school, but that was it was a reward scheme because I was a student, who studied from a school in their town, and I was a top student, so they thought that they could reward me to motivate other students in the future. So they gave me a management trainee, although that program is usually reserved for students who are out of college. So I went there, but after about 6 months, I quit. So the reason why I quit was that I wanted to go into business. At that time, I had an ambition of becoming a millionaire before I joined the university. And I thought this program was holding me back from that ambition. So I came with a few ideas that I thought could propel me to where I wanted to go. One idea was starting ISP. At that time, if you remember, that's around 2002, and that is when the internet boom was hitting Kenya. There were a number of cyber cafes that were coming up. So I came up with a business plan, I came up with a proposal. Then I pitched the idea to a few people I knew who could, who could raise the capital. They agreed to the idea. Unfortunately, when it came to walk the talk, they never committed the money. So that idea didn't work. I tried 2 other ideas. All the ideas I tried actually didn't fan out, didn't work. So to cut a long story short, I did not become a millionaire before joining university. So I joined the university, and I still had to go through the normal process like any other student and get my help. But one of the things that I also learned is that you could have the ideas, but sometimes putting together the resources that is required to actualize the idea is not a very straightforward process. What entrepreneurship meant to me was freedom. Freedom from a lot of constraints. So one of the things I was saying that I want to have, unlimited resources and unlimited time, which I thought the only way to get such kind of opportunities is through entrepreneurship. If, let's say, I'm working, I'm a very successful C-suite level employee. I still have a lot of limitations with respect to my time. So I thought entrepreneurship gives me unlimited time, control of my time and resources. The other thing that pushed me towards this was I thought through it I will be able to impact. I had always had this urge of doing big things. In fact, over the years, from that time to date, it's like every year I normally come up with a big idea, which if I look at, for example, my computer or my directory that I have online, I have like 20, 30 folders, each with a write-up of a different kind of a project that I tried at a different time. So some of them I go back to them, Others, they are just there in the waiting. In fact, sometimes I say, you know, I look at somebody like maybe, you know, Elon Musk, and one of the things I tell myself is that maybe I need my PayPal, you know. I need that one big thing that I can do that's very successful, that will give me the freedom, the resources, and maybe, you know, the credentials now to actualize all those other big dreams, you know. In the background, I always knew, you know, the challenges that we've had with education. For example, when I was in the university, I was the Secretary General for Computer Science Students Association. And while I was there, I organized a project. I wrote a proposal to Safaricom to fund an ICT project in rural areas. So at that time, I went to Garissa, and we trained about 120 students and teachers on ICT. So from there, I was always aware, you know, the disparities that exist in education, where, for example, you go to a school, let's say in a county like Garissa, and you will find that out of 100 students in a school, 87% can score below C, you know. In fact, a very recent statistics is in the year 2019. I was just seeing one school there which had 79 students, and 70 had below D+. But when you come to some other schools, like let's say you go to Alliance or Pangani Girls, you will find 97% had C+ and above. So I thought, why this disparity? And one of the main challenges was, you know, access to quality teaching. Now I thought, if I'm able to use this kind, you know, of videos to do my certification, what if the same is done for these high school students? Wouldn't that give them, you know, opportunity to learn and maybe, you know, improve their chances of higher education and success in later life? So that's how the inspiration for Dawati came. For the idea to work, I needed two things. One, I needed to develop the platform, and I needed to create the content. So the platform, that was on me, and maybe, you know, any other technical person I could get. The content, I needed teachers. So I talked to 2 teachers. You know, I sold them the idea, and they bought, but I was not paying them anything. I told them, when this thing succeeds, we will all, you know, you will all make money. Unfortunately, after a few months, the things were not moving, and they stopped picking my calls because, you know, I was not paying them anything. So that led me to realize one thing, that sometimes it's very difficult, you know, to demand something from people if you don't have what I call instruments of coercion, which is either money or, you know, power. Like either you have to be paying somebody something, then you can demand. So that was the first attempt at Dawati, which failed. In 2010, I revived again the idea. So this time I thought maybe what I could do is I could put a team together. So I got 3 of my mates in college. I told them, let's do this idea. So they bought the idea, we registered a company, and then we started. After 1 year, we ran again into the same problem, because these were all partners. Nobody has, you know, authority of another. It's a voluntary group, and we didn't have resources. So the second attempt, it failed. That was in 2010. Then I made a third attempt in 2012. The same idea. This time I pitched to a company that I was working for. I told the CEO, there's this idea. I have the idea, I have the plan, how it could be implemented. You have the resources to make it possible. So can we go ahead and do it? He said yes, but talk to the business development person, work with him to execute the idea. So I started working with the business development person. After some time, the business development person has other priorities always, which is to bring business and not necessarily, you know, do work on incubating an innovation. So that was the third attempt. It failed again. I tried again in 2013 with another organization. It didn't work. So that was the fourth attempt, which failed. Now, in 2015, I was working for another company, another IT company. So while I was there, you always come against these reports of what happened in last year KCSE, how 87% of the students are not making it. He said, no, I cannot have a solution and let it fail just because the people I was working with are not committed enough. So now I again to the CEO of that company, because I was working, and I said, I have this idea, let's work on it. Provide the funding, I provide the technical expertise, and we become directors, we become shareholders now with the idea, we become co-founders. So he bought the idea and he agreed to provide the resources. So at this point, I've also learned, a few things from my previous failures, which was, for example, if you are working with maybe people to develop something for you, you have to pay them. You have to have contract so that, there's accountability. So at this time, I went, got the teachers, we signed contract with them, agreed milestone, payments, everything is agreed upfront. And now at that time started moving. So by around 2016, we had the first prototype of the web. Then by around 2017, we started developing the app, and by 2018 now we have launched both the app and web. If you look at, for example, how the resources are distributed in this country for high schools, you'll find the best teachers are in a few top schools. And it's very difficult to convince this teacher to move from this school to another school, where his services are needed more, but he's not doing as well. Because these top schools also give them more opportunities, more exposure. So the idea was, since we cannot replicate these teachers physically, you cannot photocopy a human being. So we thought, now this is where technology can come. So if you get the top teachers in the country, you train them to develop e-learning content, which is in multimedia, videos, e-books, and practicals. And then now you allow access to every student in any part of the country. Then it means every student will have at least, maybe not equal opportunity, but a good opportunity, because now you are in a school in Lokichogio, but you can learn from the same teacher that is teaching Alliance. And because this teacher is being paid to do that, he's actually very motivated to provide, good quality learning experience. By 2020, we had completed the content. So when I said we launched, for example, in 2017, that is what is called MVP, minimally viable product. So it had like 20% of the content, and it had the web and app working. Currently, we've completed the content for 7 subjects. That is all the sciences, all the languages, mathematics, and history. So what we have now, the content for those subjects end to end, which actually was only achieved towards end of 2020. In terms of traction, currently we have about 33,000 students who are registered on the platform. These 33,000 students are from about 4,000 different schools. The other achievement has been in terms of the impact as we measure from the content consumption. Currently, we have about 220,000 minutes have been consumed on the app for both e-books and videos, and this is growing. It's growing every day. So from our side, we've made great strides. Of course, we are not where we would have wanted to be. Where we would have wanted to be was, we have about 3 million students in high school. So maybe I have about 1 million students or more registered on the platform. We have an Android app, which is our main platform that has most students. We have a web platform, and we have a desktop platform. Have an idea, believe in it. 2, know that you are going to fail, maybe more often than you are going to succeed. But the difference between the person who is eventually going to make an impact and the one that will not even be a footnote in history, which means that there's even no awareness about him or her, is the one who gives up at the first or second attempt. So always have the idea, big idea that you believe in, but be ready to put your time and energy. And when you fail one way, always be ready to try in a different way. We like to give a lot of excuses. Excuses are they are very soothing on why you have failed or why you are failing. Why, for example, the system is working against you. Why maybe the angel investors in Africa are not interested, or why the VCs are not interested in your idea or certain types of ideas. But at the end of the day, it's your idea. It's not the system's idea or the angel investor's idea. So you are the one who is responsible for its failure and its success. And it means if you can't put your time and energy to get it to a point where people can see some results or traction, then you'll only have yourself to blame. Nobody owes you anything, or nobody owes anybody anything. It is you and you alone to make your idea a success.